All right, guys, welcome back to another video. It's your man Jay. So today we're going to be covering the Galaxy S23, the smaller variant. I've had this one for only about 72 hours or going on 4 days, and it is absolutely great, man. So I haven't put in as much time with these two. These are my two regular drivers. This is the third phone number, basically. 1, 2, 3. That's I'm just going to tell you that's how it goes. But I have several great things to report in this video, so please stay locked as I'm reporting these, if I'm giving you this information as I go through this. There were so many things that I noticed about this device versus the Ultra and the 23. So before I jump into that discussion, I want to go ahead and talk about the hardware. Now, one thing Samsung did different this year was they gave them all pretty much the same screen brightness. They gave them just 1750 peak brightness. They have 120 hertz HDR10 displays. The displays, basically, display technology is good on all of these. I mean, it is really solid. So that's something you take note of. No matter which one of these phones you get, you are going to get a beautiful display. Now, a lot of times you'll see me talking about, I want to get the smallest variant, and people say, well, your hands are so big, blah, blah, blah. A regular for me is the iPhone 13 Pro. This is a beautiful size to me, no matter what size hands you have, because I've seen people with small hands and these phones look ginormous in their hands. So with me being able to reach my screen all the way across, just shuffle, even with this smaller variant, and I have big hands, you still have to shuffle a little bit. So I think Apple did a great job with this size. Now, one thing I don't like in comparison to the iPhone 13 Pro is the size on the Galaxy S23 is rounded. Now that does feel good in the hand, but I just prefer, and I guess I'm just used to the flatter sides on the iPhone. But either way, this display is beautiful. The overall design of the device looks better than the previous generation 22 models because they had that little cutout around. But either way, just preference. You are going to like what you like, and I think you'll be happy to know that either with any one of these, you're going to have these smaller ones. It's going to feel really nice in the hand. So 6.1 inch display, 1080 by 2340. Samsung did a great job on this display. This is a Samsung display, so I mean, what do you expect? It's a phenomenal display. Now, other things on the hardware to note is that these are pretty much all built the same, but I do not like the volume rocker on the same side as the power button. I would like it over here, like the OnePlus devices and some other devices that do that. But this is Samsung's setup for whatever reason. This is just how they do it. So this thing comes with some of the best speakers you will ever listen to on a device. And I was going to do a speaker test, but over video, it just doesn't do it any justice. You have to hear it in person. You have to get your device and compare it next to it, and you'll see what I mean. But sometimes I do it, but lately I haven't been doing it because it just doesn't. I don't want to just. It's just so good in person. Streaming content or media consumption is absolutely great. Now, one thing I want to report on here that is in comparison to these two, believe it or not, this 3900 milliamp hour battery is absolutely great. It is phenomenal. Like I said, well, I haven't put in a lot of time with this one. It is absolutely great. It sips battery. I haven't had to make any adjustments. Unlike the Ultra, I've had to make adjustments to compensate for the battery not being as good as this device or this device. And this device is really strong on battery. That 4700 milliamp hour battery inside of there, coupled with basically the same specs as this one, with just a little bit larger display, phenomenal. And we'll get into that one in a little bit as well later on. But this running Android 13, One UI 5. All three of these have gotten the February security patch. They're up to date. They're running smooth. Now, while I say I hadn't been getting into much usage with these, this one as these two over here, there's something I've been doing with this one, and it's been recording video. Wow. This is where another thing I like about Samsung this year, they pretty much gave the same quality across the board. Literally, all the functionality. And you're going to say, well, Jay, they've done that before. Well, I know what you mean by that, but understand what I mean. I've purchased the other devices before, and the quality was different. I could put them side by side, and it was just a different look and feel. But with this one, I mean, when you go into the settings, the quality is all there. Even obviously, you have Expert Raw, Pro Video is where I lived. When I first got this device, I started recording content on the channel with it. And I went to Pro Video. And the fact is, this is where Samsung to me wins. I mean, you got the director. There's so many things in here. If you like to create video content, you can't go wrong with either one of these. Now, you do get the periscope lens and the extra lens over here, but how often are you really going to use those? That's what you need to ask yourself. So either one of these devices is just going to come down to how big of a display you want, and obviously you get more battery if you pick the bigger display. But this one right here is absolutely great, man. I'm telling you, the functionality of the cameras in here matches these two devices. And I'm glad they leveled it out. They're pretty much doing what Apple is doing with the Pro lineup, but they have 3 versions. Now I do have the 14 lineup as well, and the 14 lineup with what Apple does, they take away a lens, and so Samsung is giving you all that you need on here. I mean, literally putting in photos and then tapping that there, I get 30 times zoom, and it's actually really good. I mean, 10 is going to be really solid, 20 is really good, but the AI working in this camera is the same as these two right here. So that is a huge plus for people who are undecided on the size. Like you don't know if you want to get this because the battery is smaller. Well, check the box. The battery is phenomenal, and the cameras are the same. Now, after that, folks, it just comes down to the daily usage of these things. And for me, the daily usage, they're all the same. Using all of these together like this, it's kind of weird, but yeah, it's just what it is. This is a really solid option from Samsung, and I didn't know what to expect going in with this one just solely because of the battery. I didn't know. I thought the battery might not, because I bought the S22 model and the battery was horrible. But to be fair, I only gave it about 2 weeks or so with that one, and this one, just going in for the first 72 hours, this battery is great. So if you're wanting, if you're curious about how this is going to hold up, personally, I feel like this is a great purchase, especially for those who are undecided on the Ultra, because a lot of people seem to be floating between the Ultra and these other 2 models. But when they start to think about this one, they think about battery life. So I don't think you're going to get these two have, the battery life is so good, especially on this one, because the battery life is the battery size is almost the same as the Ultra. This is 4,700 on the Plus, and then 5,000 on the Ultra. But the Ultra has a Quad HD display, and so it's struggling for me right now. A lot of you guys are saying, Jay, I think you got a bad unit, but I'm basically just making it through a full day with the Ultra. But I want 2 or 3 days. I should be able to get 2 or 3 days out of here, and I shouldn't have to scale back things. That's kind of like the primary conversation for me about these 3 is simply is what your battery life is doing. The best battery life of all of these is right here in the center. This 4,700 milliamp hour battery in this Plus model, coupled with basically the same specs as the smaller variant, it's incredible. It's incredible. There's no going wrong here in my usage of these. The Plus model is the smart way to go if you want the most battery technically from all of these. Now, battery life, remember folks, it's all subjective, but it's going to depend on the person who's using it, and you're never going to get the same. Everyone's battery life is going to be different. Like basically, when I started to report the battery on this joint here, everybody freaked out like, oh, I can get 3-4 days. You got a bad unit. Battery life is dependent on the user, and for some reason right now I'm only you might say, well, Jay, at least you're getting a full day with about 4.5 to 6 hours of screen on time. That's not good enough. This is their killer device, and I should be getting more than that. But in reality, Samsung does want you to choose between these, right? Some people, I think you're getting it wrong. I think you guys are being duped into buying this one because this is the one they're presenting to you the most, when in reality, you should be choosing one of these other versions right here, because they're going to give you the same productivity, not the S Pen as far as productivity, but you can do notes on here. You just don't get a pen with these 2 right here. But in reality, all 3 of these do the same thing. They all do the same thing. They do. So I think when I hear people saying that you shouldn't buy these 2, and Samsung's trying to sell this one, no, Samsung's trying to sell all 3 of these. And the smart purchase, folks, is right over here. Because the majority of the people that are buying this are not creators. They're not people who are going to I guess, reap the rewards of all this power that and productivity that this one puts out, when you can stay right over here and do the same thing. You just don't get an S Pen and you don't get a periscope lens. That's it. So to me, of all three of these, this is the best purchase right here. This is the smartest one, because this one gives you a 512 option as well. This one does not in the US. It only goes to 256, I believe. Yeah. And this one obviously gives you a terabyte version. But I think a lot of people are buying the Ultra, and you're not going to use all that. You just want the real estate on the screen. And I don't think, based on the people that I know who have this in person, like in real life, that I can see and talk to and just go to their house, they're never ever using all the power of this device, and they could solely come right back over here or here if they just want a bigger display and get all that they need and save a little bit of money or save a lot of money in comparing these three phones, and come over here because 6.1 is a very large display. So it's your man Jay. Battery life, functionality, everything about the S23 so far in the last 3 to 4 days, it's been great. It matches the other two options that they have. It's just smaller, simply put. So it's your man Jay. Another follow-up will come soon. But for now, I'm really enjoying this full-blown Samsung experience. But everything is not golden, because I've stopped using my Watch Pro 5, and I've moved back to what I consider probably the king of smartwatches that people will always deny, this bad boy right here. Anyway, it's your man Jay. There's a video coming out on that, my follow-up on that and why I've done that. But I'll see you guys in the next video. Hope you guys enjoyed content. Focus somewhat on the S23, but you can't go wrong with either one of these. This just depends on what you're picking it for. So while I'm telling you, you might not be getting your money's worth over here, you still do what you want to do. But having all three, and I do create, I'm able to create with either one of these. By the way, today's video is captured by the no, it's not. It's captured by the Z Fold 4. I decided to mount it up and take down my Sigma setup and just use Samsung products to promote Samsung products. I wish it was paid, but it's not. But no, I got a love for Samsung. It's your man Jay. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.